Yesterday, I reported that Odessa was paying the price for the Ukrainian attack on the Kerch bridge. This seems to be continuing today. There have been multiple reports this morning of Kalibr missile strikes on the port of Odessa. This occurred yesterday, also occurred on the port of Nikolaev. These Kalibr missile strikes seem to be prelude to then a swarm of Geranium or Geran drones approaching. So we've got multiple reports from both Russian and Ukrainian sources today indicating that these attacks are occurring in Odessa, not only in Odessa, but there's also reports in a number of other areas, Kupyansk region, and in Donetsk area, even in Zaporozhye, of missile strikes and perhaps drone attacks today. Yesterday, it seems that a Ukrainian counter-attack over the Crimea was launched. This was a large-scale swarmed drone attack. Reportedly up to 28 Ukrainian drones were fired. As I've mentioned a number of times, I believe the real game changer of war that we're seeing in this conflict is the use of drones in this conflict. And now it seems that we're starting to see these grow in size, and the swarm capability becoming the next generation or evolution of drone technology. If you recall, there was just 2 days ago a TV segment released by the inventor of the Lancet drone, where he spoke about the new version, the Product 53 of the Lancet drone. And what was announced as its primary new capability is a swarming coordination ability, where there could be multiple Lancets loitering in an area. One will detect a target, a piece of heavy military equipment, for example. It may actually detect that there are multiple targets, and it will then call in and coordinate the other Lancets to come and join it in the attack. The one launched off with 28 drones from Crimea yesterday, I don't believe that it was a coordinated, synchronized drone attack as such. It appears to have just been a large volume of independent drones set across. There were some reports of explosions over Crimea. Not clear at this stage if they were those drones hitting their targets, or if possibly, and perhaps more likely in many cases, that was reports of those drones being crashing to the ground, being either intercepted by air defense systems or being disabled by the Russian electronic warfare capabilities, which seem to have been very successful in disabling Ukrainian drones thus far. In the Donetsk area, Russian reports of shelling of the area by Ukrainians. Interesting in the reporting here, the reporting indicates that there were 7 people wounded, including a 17-year-old. However, Denis Pushilin, who is the acting head of the Donetsk People's Republic, I noticed that in his reporting of the shelling of Donetsk, and this happens routinely, Ukrainian shelling the Donetsk area, but today he mentioned that Turkish missiles were involved in the shelling. This, I wonder if this is part of a repercussion, a dissatisfaction on the Russian behalf with Turkey, and how Turkey has operated recently around comments around the grain deal and the release of the Azov commanders back to Ukraine. Normally, or in the past, I haven't noticed Pushilin indicating that Turkish missiles were involved in a strike. Kupyansk, in the Kupyansk area, heavy Ukrainian losses. There is heavy Ukrainian losses also reported in the Solidar region. Russian reports are that there is a constant a constant attack from the Ukrainians around Solidar. They're referring to them as meat wave attacks. It's a terrible term, but it's what's being used. And this is in reference to the change in tactics, where the Ukrainians aren't sending out columns of heavy armoured equipment like tanks and armoured personnel carriers. Instead, they seem to be using perhaps MRAPs, Humvee-type vehicles to rapidly deploy foot soldiers, light infantry to a location close to Russian forces, and then they retreat the vehicles out of there and let the soldiers proceed on foot. The Russians are indicating that they are struggling to deal with these assaults because there just are so many of them, and they are continued. However, they are reporting the Russians are reporting, they indicate quite staggering Ukrainian losses in terms of troops. They are suggesting that the Ukrainians are able to sustain this because they are reinforcing with reserves very rapidly in these areas. In Kupyansk, they're indicating in Kupyansk region. They're indicating that the 14th Brigade has been brought in to reinforce the Ukrainian forces who were there because they'd suffered such heavy losses. However, the Russian reports are that the 14th Brigade itself is newly stocked with inexperienced and only shortly trained recruits to the Ukrainian army, and their morale is low, is the reporting from the Russian sources. Now, interestingly, near Kupyansk, the Deputy Minister of Defense for Ukraine, Hanna Maliar, has reported upon the Russian army buildup. This is something which over the last couple of days I've reported on. There's been news coming out about this. And so this is Ukrainian reporting from the Deputy Defense Minister. She is indicating that the Russians have over 100,000 troops in the Kharkiv, Kupyansk region. They have over 900 tanks amassed there, 370 multiple launch rocket systems being positioned, and that the Ukrainians are detecting both fixed wing and helicopter support assets being moved into the area to the east of Kharkiv and near Kupyansk. This appears as though we may be starting to see the start of a Russian counteroffensive in the north. There have been a number of reports around activity and the bombing of areas up north, Chernihiv, Sumy, deployment of some of the Wagner forces up into Belarus above the northern regions. So this may well be perhaps the start or the preparation for this Russian offensive to take place in the north. There has been reports that the Ukrainian defensive positions aren't as strong and well established in this area, and that might be why the Russians are looking to go there. Also, a Russian offensive in the north will draw forces away from the southern Ukrainian offensive through the Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk areas and lighten some of the pressure there. Look, this is how it's sort of happening now. It's ongoing now, this activity. Just one other piece of news I'd like to report on quickly here is that Reuters is reporting a $1.3 billion aid package will be announced in the near future from the United States. This aid is coming under the USAI, which is the Ukrainian Security Assistance Initiative. This particular assistance package allows the President, Joe Biden, to purchase new equipment to aid Ukraine rather than drawing down upon existing Department of Defense stockpiles. So this $1.3 billion of aid, this is the seventh grouping of aid taken under this USAI assistance agreement. A total of $10.8 billion has been used so far, including this $1.3 billion, which is to be announced. It will provide things such as air defense systems, Vampire air defense, counter-drone capabilities, and drone and loitering munitions and ammunition. This will be not immediately deployed to Ukraine. There will be a delay here, because this is a purchase from weapons manufacturers for new equipment. Now, if those weapon manufacturers have available stocks, then some of those stocks could be provided now, and this may move to Ukraine rapidly in time to assist Ukraine with their faltering offensive. However, some of this may not be deployed for some time, as some of the equipment being purchased may in fact need to be built before it becomes available. It's going to include, Vampire air defense, Switchblade and Phoenix Ghost drones and or loitering munitions, and from an Australian supplier, the DroneShield, which is a counter-drone technology. Look, I'm going to leave it there. Just a quick update for now. I'll have more on this later today. But certainly we are seeing a lot of missile and drone attack activity across Ukraine, which appears to be either in response to the attack on the Kerch Bridge, or possibly in the northern areas to support the preparation of a Russian offensive towards Kharkiv and Kupyansk. Thank you. I will talk to you again soon.